Hey guys, it's Darren, and I'm adding this message in post to give some context on the structure of the episode. Originally, we did a plot recap in full detail, but afterwards, we realized that it felt a little redundant, especially because the viewers who are watching this episode most likely have already seen the film. So I decided to cut out a lot of the filler from this plot recap section, but keep the parts where we dive deeper into certain scenes. For example, we loved a lot of the scenes like the rain scene, which is a very essential part of the film, so we felt like, it deserved to kind of still be in the cast. So for the next 30 minutes or so, you're going to hear a lot of sudden cuts. It might sound a little jarring because we're going to jump to different scenes. But if you want to skip this deeper dive and instead want to go into the overall discussion about the ending, our interpretations of the film, and the hidden meanings that we found, there will be timestamps in the description below. I apologize if it sounds a little confusing during the cast. I hope you stick around because it was a fun and special episode where we talk about a film that we absolutely adored. And feel free to leave any feedback in the comments below. All right, cool. Thank you. And back to the cast. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the DOJO Podcast. My name is Darren Vega. I'm one of your hosts today. And I am joined by my usual co-hosts, Xander, Calacsan, Ryan, Tolley, and Patrick Booth. And today we have a very, very special episode. So because of that, we wanted to invite some very special guests. We invited two of our closest friends. Go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
Yo, what's up?
Go, Craig.
My name's Andrew Rapacon.
What's up, Andrew?
I'm sorry. I was waiting for Craig.
All right. He said I was waiting for Craig, bruh.
All right. So who we have on the cast today is our closest friends, Carson and Rap. Andrew, we refer to him as Rap. That's his nickname.
Yes, sir.
We wanted to have them on for a long time, and we also want to have them on because today we're doing a film cast, and they are two of the biggest film casts or film fanatics that we know.
Biggest film cast.
Yes, the big film cast. They
Xander's
love film.
a big film fanatic.
Yeah, I'm like super interested in hearing your guys' thoughts on the film that we're talking about today, which is a special film called Parasite, which is directed by Bong Joon Ho. Yes, dude, we love
Hey,
this
I
film.
thought this episode was Tiger King.
What the
Carol
hell?
Baskin.
I remember talking about Carol Baskin too.
But yeah, Parasite, we love the film. It's the South Korean film that made big waves last year and earlier this year. It won Best Picture at the Oscars, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, we'll talk about why in a little later. With that being said, if you have not seen Parasite yet, do not watch this episode at all. We're going to spoil the shit out of it.
No, watch it. We're doing this late.
We're doing a good recap.
If you watch it.
Yeah, but to start off first, what's your guys' first kind of overall take of this film? This is like the second time we watched it for most of us.
Yeah, for most of us. Fucking amazing.
Yeah,
What do you think, Craig?
As well.
Craig, what do you think, baby?
But yeah, what'd you guys think?
Xander, you go.
What I think is very good.
Bruh.
All right, thank you, Xander.
Once again, huge cinephile, so very good.
Super.
Are you a super
Cinephile.
fan?
Sorry, we're using super today.
All right, cool. We love the film, as you can tell.
Oh my gosh, y'all.
Okay, so I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about without getting deep into it. So I guess we'll just go straight into the plot then. Oh, they were talking about the art. That's what kind of
the art.
started
Go
it.
ahead.
Yeah. So they had a little conversation about art. He was trying to make it seem more of a big deal than it actually was. And then later he's like, "Oh, you know what? I know a great tutor that could tutor your son."
Yeah,
with art.
and I want to talk about this part, Darren,
Mhm.
because when we were watching it, I noticed something because I watched it a couple times, and I noticed as they're walking down the pathway outside, you kind of see the recognition in his face, or the realization of
Yeah,
I
he's
could
thinking.
put my sister on.
Mhm.
And as you see that kind of turn in his face, the camera kind of pans up, and you see more sky behind him. And
Right.
I think I just saw you see that brightening, the light bulb, he gets an idea. So I just thought that was a really cool shot
Yeah,
to
dude.
me, because he kind of it kind of sets everything in motion while putting his
Exactly.
family.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't even notice that until you mentioned it while we were watching it today, which is really cool. And you pointed out a lot of stuff too. It was really cool
Hell
watching
yeah.
it with all you guys because we were just able to
Yeah.
point out different stuff. But yeah, we'll get into more of that.
Funny as hell too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really funny.
It was fun. So yeah, he puts the mom on his sister. He's like, she's from Illinois, and this is important too because Carson mentioned it while we were watching it. But in Asian culture, they kind of have this idea that America is like very high end, and they're fascinated with American culture and higher education in America, and you could see that translate in the film too, which is deeply rooted in Korean culture too. So it was really cool that
Yeah,
they added
like
that.
yeah, and you see like the mom would say like some English words and like phrases just like out of nowhere.
She
Right.
trying to be trendy.
And then later they have an idea after a couple more lessons. The sister puts on the dad, Mr. Kim. And it's interesting how that goes because this rich family just already thinks so low of their assistants. Like just
Right.
one bad move and like, oh wow, like you
done
betrayed
so.
our family.
Yeah, don't skip over the part where they were eating because I remember you mentioned
Right.
when they're at the buffet,
Yeah.
you kind of see this.
Oh yeah.
Or talk about your food idea, like how you thought how like the more money they got, the more income they started, getting a better lifestyle and eating better
Yeah,
food and all
exactly.
too.
It's something I didn't really notice the first time watching it, and then I kind of paid more attention to it this time. The reason why is because I saw like analysis video. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even catch that. And looking at it now, I was like, you see progressively throughout the film, they start living a better life. Their house becomes a little more cleaner, but it's also really conveyed in the food. So progressively, you see them earning more money, and then now they get to eat at buffets. They're not eating moldy bread at home, and then they eventually get to buy beef later in the movie.
Yeah, I think it's also funny how because during that scene, the son is like, "Oh, look, we're even at a driver's cafe. Like it's a metaphor." And like the characters do they break the fourth wall by like saying like, "Oh, this is so metaphorical. This is so metaphorical."
Mhm.
I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was funny, like that the director or writer or whoever made that decision like had the characters like actually say that in the movie.
They plot against the housekeeper and have the mom replace her. So this is my favorite scene. I call it the TB scene, the tuberculosis scene. The reason why is because they frame the housekeeper for having tuberculosis, and what they do is they find out that she's allergic to peaches. Then they just plant peaches on her. The editing behind it was like the highlight for me because you see them like scripting out what they would say in that
Yeah,
situation.
it's like a montage. It's like a montage. Too.
Exactly. And then it cuts to them saying the same script, but in the real time. And it was just such an amazing scene. And then like it just builds up and it culminates into the last moment where the mom is going up the stairs and
The icing on the cake.
yeah, and the icing in the cake, yeah, and it's just all in slow motion. It's just such an amazing scene.
That's epic.
Another important scene when they're back home, and the drunk guy that pisses in front of their house usually came back, and he's about to piss again. And this time, so the first time we saw the drunk guy, Kiwoo was like scared, and Min was the one that stood up to him. But this time around, Kiwoo was, he feels more confident in himself, and he's able to step up to him. But he grabs the rock, and they're like, "Whoa, don't grab the rock! Like, let's just spray him with water."
Chill.
Yeah, and then it leads to this really amazing shot when Jessica films him in slow mo, and then this transitions to pretty much the middle of the film where the rich family goes camping and the poor family gets the house to themselves. But then in the middle of the night, it's raining and the housekeeper comes back. And then later, as they get down, they reveal that someone's been living there, and that's the housekeeper's husband, and he's going crazy. And the reason why they're down there is they're hiding from debt collectors. And Carson mentioned this. So the reason why they're hiding from debt collectors is this thing that happened in South Korea. From what I researched, I believe it happened in around 2019, early 2010s. Basically, there's this big boom of like Taiwanese businesses and Korean fried chicken businesses. And it was really easy for families to just collect loans or grab a loan and open up their own business. But so many families were doing it that there's a lot of competition and a lot of businesses failed and they weren't able to pay back their loans. So from what I read from my research actually is that the Kim family kind of had a very similar situation. They mention it like very subtly in their dialogue that they opened up a fried chicken business and that's why they're living in the situation they are now. The same thing pretty much happened to the housekeeper's family too, except they collected a lot of debt and the guy is just hiding down the basement just to hide from the debt collectors. It leads to this scene where the kid is in the tent, the rich couple is on the couch, while the Kim family is hiding under the table. And this is an important scene because the rich dad is talking about the Kim family, obviously not knowing that they're there. And he says, our driver, he smells really bad. Like, this is a point that hits hard for Mr. Kim. And we'll get to the reason why later, which happens near the final scenes. You see while he's under the table, he's like smelling himself. He's like, wow, do I really smell that bad? Like, you're just disrespecting me. And this transitions to the rain scene. And I'd like you guys to explain the rain scene because I know a lot of us really enjoyed this scene. So what were you guys' thoughts on the rain scene?
And you're talking about when they're leaving the house?
Yeah, when they're leaving and it's like pouring down.
Okay. Well, I think Pat has the first one because right when they leave, you notice the draining. You mentioned the drainage.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go with that first. Yeah, so just the way the house is like geographically located, all the water is like pushed down because of gravity, like down that slope right on the hill. And to go with that kind of verticality in the scene, you see the water eventually lead its way to kind of a sewer opening, just so there's like proper drainage. And then Bong Joon Ho is pretty smart with that because the audio as well intensifies of the water kind of streaming down. And even on my first watch from the get-go, I immediately knew right then and there that was kind of foreshadowing the next scenes that were to come. Basically just because of we know where they've lived from the beginning of the movie, kind of in a slum, and literally a semi-basement, like under the ground. So that immediately made me think like, oh shit, yeah, they're probably gonna get flooded. And then you guys can take it from there because you'll explain the stuff.
Yeah, and as they're going home, you see like wherever they go, they're constantly walking downstairs, and there's like these long shots of just them just walking down like hella stairs like multiple times.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like shows like they're kind of coming down off this, like off their high, living in this house,
right,
getting drunk, whatever, and they're just coming back down to reality, coming to where they live, and kind of noticing like, oh shit, our place is getting flooded.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of have a like check of reality while they're down there.
That's true. Yeah. You especially see in Kiwoo too, as he's like holding the rock and just standing still, and his dad's like, what are you doing? Like, come on, let's go. But he's just holding the rock, and this leads to more of a reflection point later in the film for him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I want. Oh, sorry.
No,
I guess go more broad. The rain is kind of when the rain started. It's kind of like a turning point of the movie. In the first half of the movie, before rain, is almost like a darkish comedy where brings the poor family up in society, in their opinion, where they eventually took over the house somewhat and lived that perfect life. And then when the rain started, that's kind of like how it's kind of almost like a metaphor how it washed away their dreams or what they see as like the perfect reality.
Mm-hmm.
And then fulfill themselves, and then they go back to being almost like a parasite where they have to hide from the host just so that they don't get killed, or how the rain got kind of so Patrick talking about the rain going downhill, so it's almost kind of like them being washed back down to the bottom of society in a sense.
Right.
Then that part also resembles the rock that was given in the beginning of the film, where if you look it up, the rocks is actually not a regular piece of rock. It's actually from downstream. So, a rock would have to be in a river for so many years, and then the downstream water is what create the stripe patterns that you see on the rock. So
Mm.
in a way, the rock is representing their lives being like washed down back to, you know, the very bottom society.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. Yeah, and that rock plays a bigger part at the very end too.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about the rock playing that big of a part. But
Yeah.
all of you guys made like some really fucking valid points. But like going back to what Patrick said about like the verticality of like everything that was happening, and you know how Rap was talking about like going down. You know, it's kind of just like it's basically like the social triangle, right? You know, the rich is always going to be at the top, and them being flushed away down is like just them going back down. What I guess what Rap was saying, like off that high horse and like off of like that wealthy lifestyle, going back down to being, you know, or like being grounded back into being
reality.
Like to a reality of being
Yeah.
of like not wealthy, the working class people that are always going to be like kind of at the bottom of the social triangle. That was like one of the one things that like I really noticed that Bong did a good job in this movie was like kind of hitting like the stereotypes of the social class differences.
Yeah.
And when the rain scene hit, like it made that point even like more valid.
Yeah, most definitely. Like he did a really good job of like having like some physical elements of like portraying that message, and the rain scene was a perfect example of that.
Exactly. Just the differences between the houses is it's a clear, you know, social class difference type of thing. And we definitely see that in this scene.
Most definitely.
And also when they're getting like drunk and talking in the
living room
in their house, the mom was mentioning, oh, this isn't really our house. If they were to come home, you guys would scatter like roaches. And that was kind of foreshadowing on what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
They came home, they all hid, they all cleaned up real fast. And then right when the lights went out, they booked it. And I didn't want to pass by that because I thought that was really.
And they really did act like they act as if they were really roaches in that scene. Like you could definitely see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really cool how you brought that up because I didn't even really think of that the first time we watched it, and as we're watching today, that was something you pointed out too, which is really cool. All right, so this transitions to some other important scenes as well because you get to see how both families react to the rain. So, an important way that we could start off with this part of the movie is how the mom reacts to it while Mr. Kim is driving. And what she says is rain was such a blessing. But to the Kim family, you know, they lost their home. And you could see that a lot of people lost their homes. They had to evacuate to a gym and it was packed with hella people. And a cool thing that Rap mentioned too while we're watching is that you see that the mom was picking out clothes the next day. Like, you know, she had a whole closet full of clothes. While the Kim family had, you know, they had a bunch of clothes that were donated on the gym floor, and everyone's like fighting to grab something. And I thought that was a really cool metaphor too.
Yeah, just like that that sort of comparison because the shots are right next to each other. The mom wakes up, you know, bright sun through her glass windows, and she just walks into her walk-in closet, picking out whatever she wants, and then it immediately switches to a gym full of wet people, just like picking whatever clothes they can, just donated clothes that, and that's just a comparison beautifully kind of shot.
Most
and
definitely.
put in the movie.
Yeah, but actually we kind of paved over an important scene too. Was after they came out the house that night, their flooded house, they went straight to the gym, right? And you see everyone's trying to sleep, but then Kiwoo and Mr. Kim were still up. And as Pat was mentioning, this is a moment of like foreshadowing because like Kiwoo, like I mentioned earlier, was, you know, this was like a inflection point for him. It was kind of a wake up call, like you guys mentioned, and he was hugging the rock, and he was like, "Dad, like, what was your plan when we were in the rain scene?" And the dad says, like, the best plan is no plan because you have no expectations and you'll never fail your plan if you have no plan. And this is really important for the rest of the movie because you feel like Kiwoo's has to like think of a plan to take matters into his own hands, and he does that multiple times throughout the rest of the movie. And I like how I think it was Pat that mentioned this too. Like later in the film, they all of the Kim family kind of does different things during the birthday party scene because they don't have a plan. They didn't really talk it out, and this kind of leads to their own demise as well. Okay,
Are we ready
so
to
we
go
were-
back?
we were talking
Oh,
about
they're
the
mad.
scene where Mr. Kim and Mr. Park were in the bushes, and you could tell that Mr. Kim was not motivated to do anything, but Mr. Park was not happy about that. He's like, "You're getting paid extra for this." And Ryan brought up a really cool point while we're watching the film. I would like you to mention it.
Yeah, well, just from like the beginning of whenever the Kim family first started working for the Parks, especially stuck out in that scene. But what I really noticed is like the Park family kind of like tries to control the Kims like with their money basically, and in a way, I guess you can say that's kind of like they're basically like kind of like downing the Kims because they know that they don't have money like that, and they can kind of control them basically with their money, and it's just kind of disrespectful in a way, I guess. It's like one of the the Kims think that the Parks are nice, but like in my opinion, I don't think the Parks are like completely all nice and like mighty, I guess.
Yeah,
But
and we'll go into it a little deeper, but like that's
mm,
that kind of shows like maybe the Kim family doesn't have this all in control as they think they do, and
that too.
the rich family still has that advantage. We'll
Yeah,
get
they
into that
still
later.
kind of have like control over them when it comes to money.
Exactly. So yeah, this scene paired with Kiwoo, and he grabs a rock and he brings it downstairs, down to the basement, and this pretty much says like he was about to kill him. I've seen a couple interpretations of the same scene of it being maybe like a peace offering. I'm not sure. I think I kind of believe the first theory, especially because like at this point in the film, like he's trying to take matters into his own hands. Like when he was talking to his dad in the gym, he's like, I'm sorry about everything. I'll take care of everything from here on." His dad's like, "What the heck are you talking about?" I guess this is what his plan was. Let's not go past what happened in this scene because we believe that Kiwoo should have died there. What do you guys think?
You get hit in the you get hit in the head with a fucking big ass rock twice. I don't know.
Twice, dude. Twice.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, I
unless
do
one of you
get.
guys wants to test it out.
I do get what Ryan. You brought this up, so I'll let you talk for most of it. But you were just saying, Bong Joon's his interpretation of the movie and the
like
the actual
that I was
the
saying
actual
earlier?
tone and what he's going for.
Oh yeah,
kind of is why it is allowed to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could touch on that more, unless you want to wait for later.
Just say
Yeah.
it. Just say
I
it,
mean,
just
we're
say it,
already
just
here,
say it,
so-
just say it.
We
So
already-
basically-
we is busy.
basically from like I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but a lot of people took this movie, or at least from a lot of articles I read, they took this movie a little too seriously. In the sense like, yeah, it does touch on realistic topics, like the social class distancing basically, or differences. Sorry.
Social distancing.
They kind of see it more as something that people should be seeing as a problem in Korea or a problem in America. But like just knowing like Bong and like just the way he like kind of was like his personality and like his kind of tone in the movie didn't seem like it was meant at all to be taking this movie like seriously. I don't know. I kind of found this movie to have a comedic tone at times.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which is why is like if he's talking about like such a serious topic, he would make the movie be more serious and realistic.
Right.
And I guess what Pat is trying to like say is like because of like
That tone.
this tone, he definitely should be dead. But because of his tone in the story, obviously he isn't.
Yeah.
When he should have just fucking got
I
killed.
like how you brought that up while we're watching too, because I think that's definitely the tone that Bong was going for, and the reason why it goes for that is because of the over exaggerations of the differences between the class. Like,
Mhm.
Maybe a rich family wouldn't be that dumb, but they let the Kim family come in and take advantage of them.
Do that thing.
He basically just pointed out all the stereotypes that people see,
Yeah.
that people want to see in a Hollywood movie. And he kind of turned that into his own twist, which is what I like.
Yeah,
For
it was
sure,
really
me
unique
too.
too. And I mean that doesn't downplay the message though. Like it's still, it feels very genuine. It's feel relatable, and it just, the over exaggerations don't make it fake. It if anything, it enhances the film and kind of drives home the message even more.
Yeah, no, I gotta agree with that too.
Yeah, and I also want to point out like what you guys are saying, like sure, the logic doesn't make sense. He should have been dead. But because it's a movie, and like what I've learned in my few classes at college, like there's certain things that are more important than others, such as like feeling, emotion, and like this and camera work, rather than like the logic of like 3D space or
Right.
like
yeah, most definitely.
or like, you know, like it, like sure, okay, he wants to get hit in the head with the rock twice and live. That's more for the story rather than oh, he definitely should have died if you take in the consideration of the rock weight. You know what I'm saying?
But
Like it's a movie, it's supposed to be fun and entertaining, anyways.
Yeah.
So
and this happens more often than not. You know, things aren't always gonna be realistic. Like, you know, fucking look at Thanos. If they want to go,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Travel back in time. And there's a lot of like issues with all that, but you know, we got that last scene on your.
There's
lap.
always gonna be people out there that are gonna be like, "Oh, this should have happened. This would have never happened.
exactly.
This movie sucks." Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
You know,
if you go crazy off of like little logistical things like that, like no, it's supposed to be like how the movie makes you feel and what message it gets out.
Yeah, because if he doesn't live there, the ending wouldn't have hit as hard as it
No,
did.
not at all. Yeah.
If he doesn't live there, the ending doesn't hit. So like, you know, people just gotta like kind of see this as like as director's standpoint from Bong or a writer's standpoint. It's like it's just about the story, you know. It's just the premise of the story, and like kind of getting that finishing scene towards the end.
Definitely.
It wasn't meant to be literal. This movie, I feel like it wasn't meant to be taken literally.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was bad.
And I feel that the best works that give off like the best message usually have comedy and like dark humor because like
for sure,
because that's how you get your audience like feeling comfortable with you. You make them laugh and cry and feel all this way, and then you hit them with the message once they're like feeling like vulnerable like to your movie.
Definitely.
Or even just like making the message be super relatable, you know. And everyone can, I'm not everyone, but like, you know, most people can relate to this. And that's just like any good story. It just has to be relatable, or at least the characters come off as people that you can relate to or see yourself in. And that kind of like comes into play with like the emotions you're talking about, Rap. Because once you can like kind of see yourself in that person or relate to the characters, you kind of see yourself being more like drawn to the story. And then your emotions kind of just, you know, take a toll on that sense.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I would say like this is kind of like the only like, I guess, plot hole that's really in the film. Like everything else is like feels really well thought out, which is a testament to the film itself. Like there's not a bunch of plot holes, there's not a bunch of like weird shit happening. Like there's always something happening for a reason. And
it feels like a full film, you know.
Yeah.
It isn't just like a throwaway. It isn't just like oh, let's just do this shot, you know, just to get it over with.
Yeah.
Every shot has meaning, every sentence has meaning, you know, things in the background have meaning.
Agreed.
The houses have meaning, like
pure masterpiece.
It really is like a pure masterpiece. I think I can genuinely say that this movie was a masterpiece. And in that sense. Although like I won't say it's the best movie, but I do think that Bong did an amazing job with everything, story wise and just creating the movie. Paying attention to detail, especially.
We left off with Kiwoo getting hit with the rock, and then the crazy guy grabs a knife and stabs Jessica, and this happens in front of all the rich guys, and they're all like, you know, mortified. They're like running away, but they're all also ignoring that Jessica got stabbed, and even the Park family is ignoring that. Like you notice in the dialogue, like Mr. Park, he's like yelling at Mr. Kim as Mr. Kim is like trying to stop the bleeding. He's like, grab the car. Come on, let's go. Let's get the car. Crazy guy eventually dies. And this is when he has this confrontation and he finally meets Mr. Park, this guy that he fascinated for 4 years. I just remember the respect part. Was there like any other dialogue that was happening there?
We're talking about the scene where the Mr. Park dies.
No, when Mr. Park sees the crazy guy, and the crazy guy has has the skewer in his stomach, and he's all
Oh,
like respect, and he's like looking up at Mr. Park.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
He doesn't really say anything. I think he just says it's like hi or hi,
He's like,
Mr.
I can
Park.
finally meet you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, hi,
Finally,
Mr.
nice to
Park.
meet you.
And I do want to mention a part of the shot, like the
Yeah,
angle that was shot at. The camera is looking up towards Mr. Park, and with the sun behind him, and it creates a halo effect to where it
Mhm.
looks like Then they do that in movies to show like a sort of godlike figure,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and that's how that crazy guy sort of saw him, because for 4 years he was worshiping him
Downstairs in the
because
Controlling
basement.
the
because
lights.
he fed him food. Well, like it, like
Indirectly.
not
Yeah.
indirectly. He fed him food. He gave him
But-
shelter,
Mhm. He
and
just
that's why
basically
he
took
sort
care
of
of
saw
him.
him as that godly figure.
Yeah, and he
Mhm.
was just like, oh hell no.
Yeah, it was like the fuck.
So it then goes to the scene that I was mentioning when Mr. Park was yelling at Mr. Kim to grab the keys and lifts up the crazy guy's dead body. And as he's grabbing
Yeah.
the keys, you notice that he's covering his nose, and it's because he can't stand the smell of this poor guy, this crazy guy. And
Mhm.
Mr. Kim notices it, and I know a lot of us mentioned it while we are watching it too. But Mr. Kim sees that, and it calls back to that scene when they were under the table, and Mr. Park was kind of talking about Mr. Kim behind his back, like, oh, like that guy smells, and that
Well, it
hit
kind of
home.
calls back to all the scenes where Mr. Park was kind of like closing his nose and like
Right.
talking about the smell and the stench.
Even whenever he caught Miss Park, covering her nose and opening the window in the car,
Yeah.
Oh, right,
bro.
yeah.
it all led up
Played
to
throughout
this
the whole
moment.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it all led
the-
up to this moment where Mr. Kim just kind of just
This
couldn't
is
take
the
it.
last
He's-
straw.
Yeah, he's
yeah,
fed
he
up
just
with that,
couldn't
bro.
take it anymore.
And then that's when he goes on his own rampage and kills Mr. Park. After this point, it just kind of, the movie goes into like this trance. It's slow motion. It's above. One of my favorite shots from the film is like it's above Mr. Kim as he's walking down the stairs with the blood on his hands. It's like amazing, like crane shot or drone shot. I don't even know what it was, but
It had to be a drone or something.
I think
Yeah,
it was
it
a
had to be.
crane. I think they put they had the camera on a wire and then they just kind of craned it over him.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
But no matter what, it was still an amazing shot and probably something I probably wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a very
seriously.
unique shot. Yeah, very
Yeah.
creative.
Mhm.
So yeah,
And plus, you got to see like the kind of mess that happened at the party.
Yeah,
like,
the carnage.
yeah, all the shit that just fell on the floor.
the blood.
Yeah.
Everyone's bags being left behind because they ran away so fast.
Mhm.
All that type of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's a good aspect to mention of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then it cuts to Kiwoo waking up from his brain surgery, and we're all like, how the hell did he survive? And you could tell that he suffered a lot of brain damage. He can't even think straight. He can't talk. But yeah, so it transitions in that. So you don't really know what happened after that party. It kind of just cuts later in the future, and then you see what happens to the Kim family after this. They get set on trial. They weren't in prison though. And then they go back to their old house, and it comes kind of full circle. It's like they went through all this shit, but they end up at the same house. And Kiwoo kind of is in his own zone, and he has his own plan to eventually buy the house. Well, first off, he's in the snow, and Rat mentioned an aspect of the snow. Do you want to mention that?
Oh yeah. So it's kind of like winter time and it's all snowy, and the snow can in movies sometimes represent sort of like rebirth
Mhm.
or like new beginnings, because in winter everything dies out and then eventually spring will come and everything will come back. So it's just kind of like a good way to wrap up the movie and kind of show like everything kind of died down, and hopefully things will just spring back up.
Yeah, and that's Kiwoo's plan. Like his plan is to kind of make something out of this and like restart and have a better life. And what he does is he goes travels back to the house. The Park family's not even there anymore. And he sees the Morse code, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Like we know what happened, but prior to finding out what happened, he's reading the Morse code, like, whoa, something's getting sent to me. Like I swear I'm reading this, and then as he translates it, he finds out that his dad is actually under the bunker. The dad pretty much replaces the crazy guy, and Kiwoo comes up with this plan where he's gonna have enough money to buy the house, and he has this message, this little dialogue as this montage is playing. He's like, I'm just gonna buy the house, and Dad, all you have to do is just walk up the stairs. And it cuts to a scene where you see Kiwoo. He's all dressed up. He looks nice. His hair's nice. He's with his mom. They buy the house, and then this is where the waterworks happen. This is when Mr. Kim walks up the stairs, and they're finally reunited. But then it turns out that it was all just kind of like a dream, and it cuts back to the first shot as the final shot, and it pans down to Kiwoo, not looking like he was like in that little dream sequence. He still looks the same, and we kind of have the ending kind of tells us that this shit didn't happen. This happy ending, it wasn't.
Yeah, it didn't happen, but it's kind of like it
could
kind of
maybe
wish
happen.
it would happen.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the ending? Like it not being real. I feel like I really like it, even though like it hurts. Like, oh man, like I was about to tear up with the whole ending, but it feels like it fits the film because it's a very kind of like a realistic take on the message of that Bong was trying to send. Like, like this family is trying to move up financially, and ultimately they fail, and it goes full circle, and literally it goes full circle with the cinematography, with the first shot being the final shot. And it shows that, like, no matter how hard you dream, like the reality of it is that it possibly will not happen, and you won't be able to move up in the world like you might think you will.
I feel you on that. I really like, this is probably one of my favorite movie endings.
Me too.
Just the fact that his dad, or Mr. Kim, traded places with Crazy Eyes. I mean, it's kind of like the way I see it is they literally got what they deserved. Because of the fact that not only were they at the bottom trying to make it to the top, and I kind of, what did you say the message was, Darren? That like,
at least with
Bong
that ending, like they're trying to move up, but like it, they weren't able to. Pretty much.
I feel like the message that Bong was trying to like say is like, the people at the bottom are always going to try and make it to the top, but whenever they try and I guess ruin the lives of the people that are on the same social class as them, you're not going to get there because you're just more of a parasite than they think that the people at the top are. It's like, the entire time the Kim's family was always screwing someone over, right?
That's true.
Whether it was Crazy Eyes or the past maid, or it was the or the driver or the Parks.
That's true.
They were always had high hopes of making it to the top, but the more you screw people over, the more karma is going to bite you in your ass. And it just happened to be that karma bit them really hard in the ass. And that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to touch on, but I was going to wait until later. Was like, how I was mentioning how like this movie didn't come off as realistic to me. I just felt like the whole message behind this is like, it doesn't really matter who you are in the social class. If you don't do things like morally or like ethically, like you're just gonna have like a face-to-face match with karma. And we see it both in both in the Parks family and in the Kim's family. The Kims lost I forgot what her name. Jessica. They lost Jessica because they were doing some dumb shit throughout the entirety of the movie. And then the Parks, they lost the dad. And I kind of like, the way I saw it was like, the Parks were pretty nice for letting them come in for a lot of the movie, but they had some really disrespectful scenes towards, the poor people.
Definitely.
And it was kind of just like, they got what they kind of deserved to because of the way they acted towards,
Yeah.
Kim family.
I like that
Um,
take a lot. I didn't really think of that. And I think
yeah,
the message behind that ending too is kind of just like really unfair, like how the social class works in Korea. And
mhm,
I think it reflects America as well. Like, the top are always going to be at the top and the bottom is always going to be at the bottom, no matter how hard they work. And that's not necessarily at the fault of the poor people, but like it's just kind of just how society works in those countries. And
mhm.
it's really, it's kind of like a jab at it, like, like this is how it is.
Yeah, but it's also kind of like a jab at people who like are trying to eat away people that are on
Yeah.
the way to the top.
True.
It's kind of like a big middle finger, you know?
Jeff
Like
Bezos.
like you, yeah,
Coronavirus.
All right, different one.
but yeah, that was just my take
That's a
on
good
the
take.
ending
I like that.
and kind of like the whole movie, the kind of message that I kind of caught.
Mhm.
But what about you guys?
Yeah, I think the ending made sense just from the stylistic standpoint of the rest of the movie. Had they just ended it on him actually achieving that plan, that goal, I don't know. It would just leave the end of the movie kind of awkward.
Yeah, I
I
agree
don't
with
really
that too.
see it being an ideal fit because there are a lot of movies that would end along those lines.
Mhm.
But obviously with Bong Joon Ho's style and just the whole plot where it's headed, there's honestly no point to kind of make it a happy ending. It makes way more sense to put it in the grounding of kind of what you guys have been
Reality.
talking about,
Yeah.
the repercussions of what they've done.
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing that I took away after we watched it the second time and I thought about it a little bit was so it's kind of like this idea of 3 cycling families within this space, right? So you've got the Kims at Parks, and then I forgot the last name of the
crazy couple.
crazy couple, basically. But so you've got like these 3 revolving entities in one area, and even in the end of the movie, that actually still happens because that German family moves in, and then Mr. Kim ends up in the basement,
Right.
and then Kevin and his mom still exist and still have to live their life. So it's almost like some people shifted spots, sort of.
Yeah.
But at the end of the
yeah.
day, the message is still the same of kind of this social difference and
Yeah.
basically, how you see life as reality. Like, no, we always think that our life is how all life is, basically, or that's just what we're accustomed to. But everybody's lifestyle is different, even if it's just like on a smaller scale. But in the movie, obviously, it's more blown out of proportion just to give you the clear idea.
Right.
But yeah, that pretty well makes sense for me.
I like that.
For the ending.
I completely agree with what Patrick just said about like the German dude and stuff. How like the lower caste is always gonna be like Parasite, and then there's gonna be a host, and the host is always gonna be the upper class, whatever.
Right.
And I love that how like we can all kind of relate our society to the movie itself, because Boone definitely have the resources to make this like a worldwide film where it's in English with like the best actors in the world, but he kept it a Korean film, but yet we're still able to take so many messages out of it that we can relate to.
Yeah.
Although the film is in Korean and we don't even know any of the actors and stuff like that. So that's why I really love the movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was a good way to say it.
Agreed, man. Yeah, I definitely wanted to touch on that in a later topic, but yeah,
we'll
no,
do
I
that.
totally agree with you there. It's amazing how Bong has made English films before. A couple notable ones are Snowpiercer and Okja. And he has American actors in there and British actors in there, but it's awesome how this one was the one that resonated most with the whole world, really. So
yeah, no, I think that's like a really, I mean, it always goes back to the point of the good forms of art or the good products of art, kind of, they just have that quality to them. because I mean, yeah, language is really important for communication for humans, but in terms of art, I think sometimes people feel that language is something that could get in the way, where in reality, the art should just speak for itself, basically.
Agreed. Mhm.
Yeah.
Amazing
What
thoughts,
are
guys.
Xander's
Love
thoughts?
it. Yeah, Xander, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts? I really just like that one sex scene.
Jesus.
Holy shit.
No.
Hey, at least we're being honest.
I thought the film. Yeah, I'm the only one being honest, but I thought the film overall.
Carson wasn't very honest.
Yeah, it's pretty. You guys pretty much hit everything I wanted to say. I just like how it portrayed that in reality, like the rich, they will most likely never see in their lives what really goes on with like the poor people and everything. And then this movie really showed that.
Yeah, it really reinforced that. I do want to throw some questions at you guys.
For sure.
So the first one was something that Ryan asked me when I first watched it, and it's there's a lot of different answers, but like, who do you guys think was the real parasite in the story? Was it the Kim family, the Park family, the crazy family?
I was recently thinking about this, and I think kind of everybody
Bruh,
is a
same.
parasite.
Yeah.
Because so there's obviously the Kim family who the story's about. They literally infiltrate their host slowly and do whatever. But then we find out that there's another family who's also kind of living off of their host.
Yeah, for years.
Which is the crazy couple downstairs. But then if you really think about it, this ties into what Ryan was saying, how the rich family, the Park family, kind of just throws money at people to kind of use them, and in a way, you could almost see them as parasites, is like kind of using other people, to their advantage.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Can I
I
touch
think
on
it's
that,
just
right?
something. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think that pretty much everyone in this movie was a parasite. Clearly the Kims were more parasitic than the others.
Yeah.
But for the Parks, it's kind of tricky because obviously they don't have like a host they're living off of, but they are, they need the people underneath them to. Wait, wasn't Mr. Park like a technology something or like?
Yeah, he's like a
Yeah.
like a CEO.
He
type.
owned his own like some
Mhm.
sort of tech something, right?
Yeah.
Well, in order for him to really get the sales and the money he has now, he needs the people underneath him to buy that shit.
For real.
So in a way,
To add to that,
in a
another
way,
example would be like when they kicked out the first housekeeper, and then you saw that the mom was like really struggling to keep the house together. Like that's another example.
Exactly.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
They need no. I'm just going off of you. Like they need these people just as much as the other poor families need them. You know.
That is true. Yeah, I pretty much agree with all you guys there. Like, there's no really right answer. Like, there's flaws in all these families, and there's no really one villain.
And that's like a good thing that Bong did, is like he left this kind of open ended.
Definitely. Yeah.
He didn't make it seem like
so clear cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's something
that's
I
what
can
I wanted to.
appreciate.
That's what I wanted to touch on when we're talking about why he left it the way he did. The ending, where like he didn't have the happy ending. He didn't have clear cut. Oh, he got a job. He got his dad out. Boom, done. It's more open for people like us who really love movies to have a discussion and kind of go over these things.
Yeah,
because he's just like us, like we appreciate and love films, and he sees it the same way we're kind of seeing it.
Yeah, it just creates a dialogue in the movie business and movie lovers everywhere.
And every like good film kind of has that too, where like
yeah,
kind of like argue like what this meant, what that meant.
Exactly.
You never really see that in like the bad movies. So that's something I appreciate from Mr. Bong.
All right, I'm gonna throw another question at you guys. Would you say the social class differences and the financial gap in South Korea reflect America too? I would say
find
yes.
That shit on fucking Google.
What?
Did you find that question on Google?
No, that's what I was thinking.
You want me to answer that shit in MLA format, my guy?
No, I mean like,
Yeah.
well, because like, I mean, I'm sure it's like that in a lot of other countries too. But I mean, this film is very deeply rooted in South Korean history and culture, and it's crazy how we like just relate to it so much, and you know you definitely see that same kind of difference in America too. That's why I was kind of wanted to see your thoughts on those on that question too.
I think the clear-cut answer is yes, just because, especially right now, I know a lot of Korean people who watch the movie. Their like economic situation and looks on capitalism are pretty similar right now to ours. Like, I mean, I haven't had the chance to go to South Korea, but you know, just from watching stuff on YouTube and you know, hearing from Xander and Carson a little bit and Benji, you know, like their technological advances are insane. Compared to ours, and it's also because they're a smaller country, so like it's easier to kind of implement that everywhere. Definitely, like the push to support their country economically is probably stronger than it's ever been, especially because you were talking about you know, kind of in the 2010 era, a lot of issues with you know, just basically too many people wanting to open up their own businesses, similar businesses.
Mhm.
So especially now, since it's been a good decade or so, they're kind of, you know, like they're just pushing the envelope as much as they can. And I think right now, a movie like this especially kind of portrays that. And, you know, unfortunately, as many people as there are successful in Korea or America, there's just as many and more
way
people.
more, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
way
who
more
are-
that are
yeah.
less fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
it's kind of, in that regard, I think the movie will hit home with either demographic and, you know, tons of other countries in the world
Mhm.
too.
Yeah, and to add to your point, you definitely see it like literally today with everything going on with the coronavirus.
Mhm.
Like, you know, obviously people that are well off, like not being able to work and having stores closed down, like it doesn't really affect them that much, and they might even have like a more specialized job where they're able to work from home, like maybe like an office job or whatever it may be. Whereas people not as fortunate, they might rely on business like that, like mom and
Right.
pop shops or
Oh,
small
for sure.
businesses and all that. And the fact that they have to close down and a lot of businesses are closing, it's really unfortunate. And I think it just kind of just shows like the gap even more with this whole situation.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really clear way to put that.
Thank you.
This is
Go
a
ahead,
Carson. This is a question for Carson and Zandy. Whenever you guys went to Korea, like, did you kind of experience? Like, did you guys like get a sense of like that type of class differences when you went?
Class
It
differences.
really
Or
depends on the
we were-
area.
Because
Yeah.
we're like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Were you guys in like the good areas that way?
Well, I don't know what the good area is, but
Just like here, it depends. If you go to like San Jose, you know, of course, you're not gonna get, you know, the taste of like what the modern society is and how like eating at a taxi buffet would be. But if you go to like a place like, you know, San Francisco, Vallejo, Oakland, and you know it's different. But where most of the places we went to weren't too like diverse in class wise. But mainly what we see is that the places that we go, we see a lot more young people than anyone of age or working class.
That was a good question though. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely
that's-
hard. Like, cause like I think like if you want to go to the rich spot or like a kind of more like poor spot, you definitely have to go looking for it.
Well, it's like, I mean, think about it. If people were to travel to California, they're going to LA, they're going to San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yeah.
They're not going
Yeah, that's
to
true.
Vallejo or, you know, any,
Yeah.
you know, they're not.
World.
They're going to go sightseeing. They're going to be around, you know, well-developed places.
You're right.
That's true.
So maybe traveling to other places you won't see it, but when you live there and like
Mhm,
you
it's
know,
different.
yeah, I feel like it's a lot different.
And that's
Mhm.
that's what the movie can show you. That's what
Yeah, I
movies
was
can
gonna say that.
really
That's why.
show you that you don't know.
Yeah, it's like the things you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I kind of have another question,
Yeah.
also kind of like a topic.
Hey, for sure.
So, like throughout the movie, we kind of see that, like, you know, the less fortunate kind of have like an aggressive tone, and sometimes they come off as like people who are like kind of crazy in the mind.
Mhm.
Do you think that being, like in the bottom, like in the bottom class, does that have like any resemblance to like mental type of problems? Because I don't know, just throughout this movie, I kind of like felt like Bong was kind of alluding to that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's definitely like real to what it is now.
hmm
Like, okay, so you know how I think there's like points in the movie where they're like the rich family is talking about drugs and shit,
hmm
Oh yeah.
but like, so that's a form of criminal act, right? But since they're at the top, they can cover that shit up, and we never really got an answer from that. But when it comes to like poor people, they get caught because one, they can't cover it up, and then two, like I think criminal acts can happen either way. Say if you have too much money, then you're gonna feel all powerful. So like, of course, you can try to do some shady shit. And on the flip side, when you're like poor and like you're literally trying to fight to survive, you're gonna do whatever you can to like survive.
Right.
yeah.
So yeah,
I think just like people who have that like fighting to survive kind of mindset, it eventually kind of drives them a little crazy.
And not necessarily intentionally either. They might lead him towards a path towards that unintentionally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
That's-
one of the things that really hit home was when the poor family kind of like took over the house and was drinking alcohol at the couch or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The poor dad was saying how they're actually saying that the Park family is actually a really nice family, and then the mom was like, "Oh, shut up. They're only nice because they're rich."
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it kind of really shows how the class thing where like they don't have to go insane because they have so much to worry about, and
Yeah.
and in comparison, if anything, intelligent wise, the Park family is actually not even as smart as the Kim's family, as they basically just got scammed, and so
Exactly.
there's a huge like class and education and mental issues that ties into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Sure.
they definitely like reinforce like the stereotypes of the classes there.
Definitely.
Oh, and to like kind of go with that, like how they would think they're nice, but they're really not. I want to mention one scene where the mom, the rich mom, was walking out Jessica, and she was asking her about her ride home, and she was like, "Oh yeah, the driver was really nice," and then she was like, "Oh, you poor
Innocent.
you
Innocent.
yeah
girl,
you innocent girl, you don't know, it's okay." And that just shows like, oh, she's playing her, and like she's the mom's really like that naive.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Right. Yeah, that was a good question.
yeah, that's a good
Why,
point
thank
for
you.
sure. Why thank you?
All right. Cool.
Wait, Ryan, what was your original question?
Yeah, I forgot.
My original question, the one about
I think I
mental
wanted
health.
to answer it. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What I asked, I don't really remember what I asked, but I just remember it was like, what I remember was like, do you think that being at the bottom has to relate or relates to having
Oh,
mental
yeah.
health problems?
Yeah, and it can.
Dude, like
Yeah, I think it can.
completely.
And
Well,
arguably, oh yeah, you go first. You go first.
oh, well, in the movie it shows because after the rain scene, let's take that for example. When right after that morning, the mom wakes up in her clean bedroom. Her, the sun is shining. She's looking out, seeing the sky, and the dad and the poor family is just in the gym searching for clothes to wear.
Right.
Right.
And we saw that traumatize the dad and traumatize the whole family, just being in that situation, just where they live. So I think it definitely can have effects on mental health.
Yeah, no, I agree for
definitely. Plus, they won't necessarily have the resources or the time to maybe seek like professional help when it comes to
Mhm.
mental health.
Yeah.
You know, people who don't have it like that, they're in a constant loop of, you know,
Survival.
fighting, eating, and, you know, constantly working and rich people, they can take time off. You know, they can take
Yeah.
time
Exactly. Yeah.
to ease the
And
mind up a little bit.
And I also wanted to mention I think that's that's kind of the reason why the movie is based around the poor family,
Hmm.
because they have kind of more of a backstory
Yeah,
rather than just this bland rich family just going along their daily lives because they can.
Yeah.
exactly.
Just because it rained, their boring life just keeps going on. He
Mhm.
goes to work, she's doing a birthday party, but it
Yeah,
shows the struggles of the poor families who have to deal with just a regular rainy day.
just a simple
Mhm.
day, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. And it's out of their control too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For
Completely
sure.
out of their control. Like, no matter how bad, like, you know, they try and get up, they always get pushed down pretty much.
Exactly.
It's kind of sad. But, I mean, throughout the movie, they were kind of like eating at each other. You know, not necessarily like the Kim family eating at each other, but like how they were taking out the crazy eyes and
drivers
the
and the
old
crazy
maid.
eyes.
You know,
Yeah.
they're in the same
Yeah.
boat, but you know, they're trying to fight each other
They're still
for the
clashing.
better
Yeah.
position and
Yeah.
life, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that as well. Yeah, no, this is amazing. Like the fact that this film can bring up questions like that, and we could dive deep into it. It's
Mhm.
testament to how great this film is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure there's more that we could talk about too.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Absolutely.
I honestly, like, I know
There,
there's more.
dude, we barely
We
Scratch
barely
the
touched the
Scratch.
surface,
Yeah,
bro.
definitely.
Because
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
actually wanted
crazy.
to like dive more into like things that happen in the background, but I
Yeah.
it's too much.
Might need a part 2 in this bitch.
Oh shit! Okay.
Damn.
Part 2 of Parasite 2 comes out.
Parasite 2.
Parasite 2, bro.
Oh man.
Jesus, I hope
Oh
Bong
my
is actually an actor in the next one.
Oh my god. Like there's rumors of like Hollywood like trying to make like Americanized version of Parasite and
Oh,
yeah.
Dude,
that's interesting.
no.
But
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bro,
yeah.
if it's a good movie, just let it be, dude.
Man,
Honestly.
Yeah.
let it
But-
be.
Why you gotta fuck everything up?
Definitely let
They
it
literally
be.
did the same thing with Snowpiercer too. Like they're making that TV show
Yeah.
off it.
Oh yeah, I just
Yeah.
noticed that.
I heard it's not as
I'm
good.
not gonna lie, that looks pretty good, but still,
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Hey,
Snowpiercer
it
was-
does look good.
I like the
Yeah.
actor. He's from Hamilton.
and they also did that with another movie. I don't know if you guys know Old Dog.
Oh yeah. Or Old Boy,
Dude,
right?
Old Boy.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a Korean film
They
too.
remade that into American version. Terrible.
Yeah. I heard.
Terrible.
Yeah.
he said,
When
"Yeet."
and the original was so good. But
Yeah, that's like an iconic film especially from Korea. Yeah. All right,
What
cool.
did Bong say when he won the Oscar? He said something about like when you read the subtitles, like it opens you up to something.
Exactly. Yeah.
It opens up to like new stories and new shit. I don't know.
And he's not
That's
wrong,
true.
bro.
And I
He's
really
not
do
wrong.
I literally believe that because like animes and like Korean films, they kind of tend to have more meaningful stories, whereas
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
tell
Yeah.
American films are just meant to produce money.
Yeah.
Yeah, low key.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
hentai.
definitely. Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
disagree with that.
But hey, shit
Yeah,
happens.
in many cases.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, cool.
In many cases.
I like how you brought up the Oscar thing. We'll come back to that in just a bit. But first, I do want to talk about some of the kind of like the film aspects that we liked. You could touch
Oh,
on
yeah.
the cinematography and things happening in the background, Ryan, if you would like to. Because I definitely love that part of it too. It's really cool seeing like the set design and the props like having a lot of meaning behind it, and it feels like such a simple story, but like it's still deep as fuck. A thing too is like the fact that it's in Korean, but the dialogue is so like precise and straight. Like I think that's a testament to the writing too. Like the fact that it's not super wordy and it's just like like it just tells what needs to be said. And same thing with the cinematography. Like every shot has meaning. Whatever's happening in the background is happening for a reason. What's your guys' kind of take?
Yeah, I definitely think that, like you said, I think the biggest thing that sticks out kind of in the grand scheme of things is just like you said, Bong Joon Ho's intent with everything.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything wrong sometimes with some filler scenes. Just for an example, like say a piece of the story that you want to connect to another piece of the story
Right.
would be kind of awkward if you just did it back to back.
Mhm.
So I can understand why there's filler, but even the quote unquote filler within Parasite, I think it's still all done with some purpose, and
Agreed.
everything's still, you still feel the drive every part of the movie. So I think that's the biggest thing that stuck out when it comes to technique. The technique also combining with the story to make it even more efficient, more hard hitting than it potentially could have been weakened had it not really had that, you know.
Mhm.
So I think that's the biggest thing I kind of felt.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to point out some. I don't know if you guys noticed or if it's even a thing, but kind of the cinematography of like the comparison between the two different homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the poor.
Yes.
Well, I want to start with the rich family. The rich cinematography. You the nice wide shots.
Mhm.
Kind of pull back and show the whole landscape of the house and how big, to kind of, like when we were watching it, kind of, because it's a big house, the family's kind of, not as close as the
Right.
poor, and we get these full shots where, well, yeah, and then we never really get like a full body shot. It's always usually close ups or
Very
mediums,
close. Yeah.
where the only really full shot is probably like down that little hall, but that
Yeah, or like the window
goes
maybe.
to show, that shows their closeness and kind of crampedness within where they live. And
Yeah.
I just want to touch on that comparison between those two.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Like going off of what you just said, Rap, it's just kind of just like Bong did a good job of like kind of with, I guess, like he turned space into a story
Oh yeah.
some way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
He
a good
turned
way to put
spacing
it.
into a story. So like with the Parks house, it's big. We see a lot more camera movement than we do see inside of the Kim's house, where it's jam packed and crowded.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The shots, you're not really getting any movement because it's just like basically you're telling, like, the cameraman is basically telling the story as if he lived in that house, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
If you're living inside of the Parks house, you have more room to walk around. You're more free. But whenever you live inside of like the basement house, it's just like you can barely move, and
Yeah, you're literally next to
majority of
him.
the time, majority of the time it was just still shots whenever they were in the basement. But it's just a
Yeah.
representation of like what it would be like to live in a house like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I like how you brought that up because I definitely noticed like in the Kim's house, like there's a lot of very close shots, like you guys mentioned, but there's also kind of like lower shots and very like tilted angles and stuff like that. Whereas in the Parks family, like it's just like straight wide shots and it's very well like composed and it's not like super close up like a handheld shot versus like a tripod shot.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
kind of like this roughness in the shots in the Kim's family versus the Parks.
I want to touch on the lighting, how you were saying.
Oh yeah.
I think thinking back to it, I don't really remember thinking about it at the time, but thinking about it now,
Mhm.
I think I remember looking at the poorer house, the semi basement. You get that blue sort of fluorescent light,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah.
like you see like in a doctor's office,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the opposite of sort of daylight,
Yeah.
yellow light,
Very warm.
blue and
Yeah.
orange. So it kind of fits in that also
Yeah,
parallel
Mhm.
to the lighting.
Yeah.
that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you get that off the rip too, like in the beginning, like comparing both of the families, the Parks, their house kind of comes off as more of like a light, I don't know, like a white
harsh
light,
light.
like a white light type of house, right?
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
get a white light type of house. Their house is more open, so they can get more sunlight in there. But whenever we were looking at the Kim's house, it was kind of more like a dirty feeling. Like even just based off of the lighting, it felt like it was kind of dirty in there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, since they're underground, they're living under like big houses and stuff like that, so they're shaded in. Unlike with the parks, they're more open. Their houses feel is more free for light to come in. It's weird though because I never would have thought lighting would have had a story
That
and
kind of
saying,
effect.
yeah,
Yeah,
it kind of has like a story and saying, what social classes have the better,
Mhm. Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's cool how lighting and music can like kind of evoke that feeling without like, just like subconsciously, and we don't really think about it until we discuss it. And
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
But yeah.
so Carson, you did write in this part of the cast like things that we love about like the hidden relations of the Asian culture and the Asian view of
Ooh,
America.
yeah.
Can you kind of touch on that too?
Yeah, there's just a lot of metaphors and like reference to a lot of Asian cultures and Asian history, Korean history itself. Yeah, one of the things that you touched on earlier was the Taiwanese business. It was like a Taiwanese cake business that was really popular back then.
Mhm.
That a lot of people got messed over, and and then getting a lot of debt. And it's just like right now how everyone is trying to open up a freaking a gomcha, and then a lot of people are failing. But one of the things that is actually, so this film is a Korean film, and although we can take a lot away from it, there's also a lot of hidden meanings for Koreans and Asians themselves that they got out of it. And one of the things that I read about is remember the little little thing that Jessica and Kevin was saying before Jessica was officially introduced into the house, where
yeah.
the Jessica, Illinois, Chicago, whatever.
Mhm.
So saying that beat actually refers to a very popular Korean song. So for the past 300 years, Korea and Japan has been in some type of a cold war because there's an island in between the border that they were both trying to claim, and then they made a song that they said, "Oh, the Dotu Island is ours," and that's the title of the song, and that's the rhythm they took to use as the Jessica, Illinois, Chicago, whatever, and so it's almost like a resemblance of how her changing the lyrics to that song is almost like her claiming that that's their house now, just like how the Koreans are trying to claim that that island is ours, and that's another the crazy thing that small details that Boone added that and if you don't, it's still a very pleasing tune and a well thought out scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
cool.
when you find that out, that's fucking amazing. What the heck?
I know.
Yeah, I
Right?
didn't know about
Dude,
any of
that's
that.
crazy. That's a good tip.
Yeah,
Um,
that's crazy, and it shows like how deeply rooted this film is in like Korean culture and Asian culture. So
yeah, going off I don't know if this really has to do too much with Korean culture.
Mhm.
But I was watching this video about this, and I actually read the comments, and they were saying like, the Ramadan scene has a lot to do with like, how like the Korean class differences like there is. Like they were saying like
too.
that the beef or whatever that
Yeah.
Kim's mom was making is a Korean beef that Koreans know is something that only rich Korean people can obtain, and the ramen that she was cooking was just like some basic ass cheap ramen.
Yeah,
And I don't know, I just thought that was like kind of like a subtle jab at the mom because she's a lower class Korean, but she knows that that Korean beef is just something that she'll never be able to obtain
dude,
ever.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a smart.
that
That's a smart
reminds
analyze.
me.
The
She said,
analysis that I heard. Oh, sorry. You want to go?
well, just something quick. She said, what the hell is wrong with the mom?
Oh yeah,
She
yeah.
didn't know
That
what it
too.
was.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
in the Korean, I guess in the Korean culture, it's kind of like only the rich people really know about it, and if the poor people do know about it, it's not like they can get it anyways.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Are
Carson.
you going, Carson?
Cardad?
The analysis that I read was so the ramdam, if you see it, the sauce, I forgot what this was called, but it's a typical traditional a Chinese Korean dish that they everyone eat with ramen for the low cast. Then and then it's basically ramen and udon, and then you add beef and then you add whatever meat you want. And then the udon is like a little higher end stuff because it's like a Japanese related stuff. So the udon is like imported, so it's kind of like it's kind of another class of society. And then like where I said the Korean beef that they have was like the highest class only, and only rich people eat it. And then to mix all those together for mix all those three ingredients together that you see people don't. It's kind of like a representation of like the three families of different society
Oh shoot.
in the single household.
Wow.
So
Jeez.
like the bowl is a house, and then the meat represents the rich family, and so on and so forth. And that's
Holy cow.
yeah.
That's crazy.
That shit's
Oh,
deep,
That's a
bro.
lot.
That's
That is deep.
deep.
I was
I
not
thought it
ready.
was just something that was yummy.
I was not ready.
Yeah, I know,
bro.
I was like, damn, I want to try that, but wow. Wow.
Yeah,
I was not
it's
ready.
crazy. Well, I mean, I get like if you think about it, you know how big food kind of has on like Asian culture. So,
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It makes sense.
Yeah.
so I guess that can kind of relate to that too.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, that's
Dude,
awesome.
I just finished my Japanese pop culture class, and 3 weeks of it was about like food and cinema.
Wow,
It was
damn.
crazy.
Big meaning in Asian culture, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's literally
Yeah.
how people get together, how families get together, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's
Or,
something
like-
everybody can relate to because everybody does it.
Mm-hmm. Everybody loves it.
And speaking about food, you guys also realize that like the beginning of the film, the poor family before they were scamming people and making any money, like they were mainly just drinking alcohol.
Mhm.
Then food didn't kick in until they started making money. But then you never see the rich family actually like drinking alcohol, and it's kind of like a metaphor of how like they're just like drinking the day away because they can't afford anything else, and they have like no life ambition, I guess, or things that they can do.
Right. Wow.
And even that's kind of like a stereotype to like poor people, because I was reading about it, like poor people, like they just like to drink, and I guess apparently in Asia that's kind of like a commonality, like they just drink a lot.
For sure.
So I guess it's kind of just like another stereotype that Bong kind of included into the film.
Yeah, and like to tie it in with like poor people, I remember like back in like even the Middle Ages, like so long ago, poor people would drink because it would keep them warm because most of the time they couldn't have hot food or hot meals.
Mhm.
They were just eating whatever they could, and then drinking alcohol could keep them warm at night. So that could maybe
That could have a factor in it too.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah.
a crazy connection. Wow.
Damn,
Yeah, that's
boy.
amazing, bro. That's amazing.
How do you guys feel about like what meaning do you think that rock really gave to the Kim family?
That's the question I wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
okay.
Carson put it really well.
Yeah,
I like
Carson
that.
put it really
Yeah,
well.
he did.
Yeah, we go with that first.
Carson, you want to touch on that again?
Yeah, so it's kind of the rock itself. Again, is called a downstream rock, where it's created by thousands of years of water, coming down to make it that pattern. And in Asian culture, you don't usually give any rocks or any nature antiques to family, to other people's families, just because it's kind of disrespectful. But that's kind of how it's different for this story. And then you guys can tell it kind of Evan, or the poor guy, he kind of got like attached to the rock. He said, "Oh, he keeps coming back."
Yeah.
For him, he sees it as almost like a lucky charm, but at the end, it almost
Kills
killed him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Kind of
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. Something that I read was how the rocks also is like a metaphor of how it's a everyone it is a useless piece of rock, right? But to him it's so special, and it became something that represents a family, yet also because it's a rock is heavy, it's also like always bringing them down, like bringing them back down to whatever they achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and I really like that was really deep, and I like kind of blew my mind when you said that because it kind of makes sense how you said it was created by 1,000 years of just like downflowing water and
Right.
and kind of it kind of like represents the family of how like all that all that kind of just like poverty is just like
weighing
or
on
like
them.
basically all the hardships in their life or like chiseling them into like and that's what the rock is. It's that water just washing away every particle, every bit of them, and making that's what all their hardships are kind of forming what they are. And maybe that's why he kind of stuck to the rock.
Wow.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that was
Well
beautiful.
said.
It's getting
Beautifully
deep.
said. That was
Thank you.
beautifully
Thanks,
Nice,
said.
dude. Yeah.
Get deep,
Just
bruv.
dumb.
Weird thing I kind of thought of with the rock is like it kind of resembles like a mountain, and you could kind of connect that to the social triangle and how the rich families are going to be on the top, and then obviously the poorer families are going to be at the bottom, and the hill is so
Oh,
steep,
yeah.
like there's
Oh,
kind of
dude,
no
that's
way to
another
get up.
look at it.
And how he kind of wanted to topple the whole thing with the rock too.
Hmm.
Dang, bro, this is crazy.
This is wild, dude. We're just talking about a rock.
We're talking about a fucking rock.
Actually, I do want to talk about something that
Yeah.
I read.
Yeah.
I know and they would love this topic about the cow scene where the rich couple were touching each other. That scene. So I read it on an interview that they had with Boone in Hong Kong. So he was saying that he kept that scene on there on purpose, and he spent 6 years writing the script. And the first, he said that after the first 2 years of thinking about what it's going to be about and how it's going to go, he has to add that sex scene into it. For teenage boys, exciting scene. It's actually like for Boone himself, it's actually like a deeper meaning into it. So the poor family was hiding under the table and being very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable of the rich couple having sex right next to them, and it's actually a way for Boone to hook in the audience because movie itself is not rated R, and that's why that's all you see. But he was saying that you were watching this movie with like your father or your mother, and the discomfort you would get from that scene would be almost the same discomfort would be for the dad to have to witness that next to his two kids. And
Right.
I find it mind blowing that for us it's a scene that is like all jokes and all, but him it actually helps develop a feeling, a first person feeling you have character.
Yeah, like what Patrick was telling us before, how he watched this movie with his the first time.
Yeah, I watched it with my mom the first time
That's
too.
that's crazy. I didn't even think of that.
Bro, I know
That's crazy.
That's some 4D right there.
Yeah, that is 4D. That is 4D. Oh, actually, Carson, we forgot to talk about the last point you have on this section, kind of like the Asian view of America. Do you want to touch on that?
Oh, sure. Well, if you guys, there's a lot of reference on America, how these kids, they graduated from the U.S. or they were born and raised there, and a lot of items they were buying or using. And me personally, I see the analogy to the Korean themselves, where they're heavily dependent on the U.S. on trade and military because they're still kind of in a Cold War, and and it's kind of like a Korean inside joke or a slap in the face on how reliant they are on all this American stuff and how they feel like the closer they are to Americans or the more English they speak, they seem a lot more educated and higher ended than anyone else. And it's actually super relatable to a lot of Asian cultures.
Yeah.
You go to whatever Asian country, if you speak English, they think they're higher end. So a lot of people love to like slip those sentences or phrases into conversations.
Yeah, no, that's true. especially when
That is
you're American. When you travel to those countries, like you're automatically viewed as higher class, like you were saying, solely just because you're American.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I also find it crazy how so many countries like South Korea or all these other countries look up to America, but like, or the US, and like half of the US like doesn't even acknowledge like like all of them. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Like looking at the bottom of our notes here, it says the language barrier. So it sucks how some Western viewers don't want to watch it solely because it's Korean.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
yeah, you know what I'm saying. And I even heard, not to bring like politics into this, but I heard Trump saying like bashing
I was gonna bring that up too.
bashing the award ceremony because a Korean film won an award in America.
Yeah.
And it just like, while all these other countries look up to us, half of our country just like completely ignores the rest of the world.
Yeah.
basically.
I like how you brought that up. I was actually gonna bring up the same thing too. We might as well transition into that topic while we're at it. To add on to the Trump story that you were mentioning, he was at a Trump rally and he was like, and the Oscar, it happened after the Oscar awards. He's like, wow, this Korean film, it won Best Picture in America, and that, like, Korea winning the Best Picture in America is a big deal. We'll get into that, the reason why, but it's funny, in that same speech, like after he was like, have you guys seen Gone with the Wind? Like, we need more films like Gone with the Wind.
Did he say that?
He did, dude. And like,
Because he wants to make America great again.
Exactly. And I'm
like Gone with the Wind.
It's funny, like the one film that's like, has a lot of racist undertones and it reinforces racist stereotypes. That's a film that he loves. And he's like, man, we need more films like Gone with the Wind winning Best Picture. I was like,
Oh, God.
that's crazy.
Basically, they have to say, wait, there's been a mistake. Unlike, you guys want Best Picture.
Nah, Trump should have went up there and been like, hey, y'all had a really good thing, but I thought Gone with the Wind had a better video.
Kanye. Man. But yeah, no, I speaking of the language barrier, like I even see like people that I know like just don't want to watch it solely because it's in Korean. I'm like, dude, like it's such an amazing film, like, and the dialogue itself is not super wordy. Like it's not like it's gonna be hard to understand.
No, hell no.
When you translate it and with subtitles, like it's really easy to read and follow.
Yeah.
And I mean, shit, I use subtitles for the movies I watch in English, so I
know, huh?
Yeah,
like nothing different at all.
Yeah, no. If anything, I think the reason that irks me the most is because it's kind of like how Andrew was talking about how, I mean, obviously we don't know if it's half of the country, but whatever the number is of people who do ignore other parts of the world, it's just frustrating. Not even the language barrier or whatever, subtitles or whatever the hell. It's like, y'all are totally forgetting that people who live in a different part of the world have a totally different thought process on how they want to do things.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to something like art, in a film that's visual representation, like that's basically closing yourself off from like new ideas, which is just crazy because
it really is.
When it comes to, especially in Asian culture, the way details are laid out, especially I feel like Japanese and South Korean people, the details are like where it's at, literally Carson just talked about they put in a chime for the Chicago thing. Like, what movie in America is gonna give a fuck about that? Honestly, like, not Gone with the Wind, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not that it's just I want people to experience that. Even if you end up not really finding it to be your thing, it's like, bro, just at least see what the other parts of the world are capable of before you go out and just be like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. I'm too lazy to read. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's just like,
that's literally the argument that I've seen from people, like people that I know. They're like, I just don't want to read. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm like, bro, okay.
It's so weird.
Jesus.
It ain't that hard to read the goddamn subtitles, bro.
No, it's really
Exactly,
not, bro.
Exactly.
Like, I'm telling you, man, other cultures have way better fucking movies and shows than we do.
Most
They put a
definitely.
lot. They put a lot more
Yeah.
heart into it than what America does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like what you guys were saying earlier, most of American like the film industry, most of it is all commercial. It's all to make money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It is.
And other places they make movies because they want to. It's not because it makes money at all.
Yeah.
Like if
More
you
about
look at
expressing how they feel about a topic.
yeah, and if you look at like I know we always like have memes and like jokes about like Bollywood or like the indie
Yeah.
movies or whatever and like South African or stuff like that, but like
Mhm.
they make movies because they want to and you know there's no real industry over there to make money off of it.
Yeah. Versus
like,
us
when
where
a
we have
really good-
Hollywood as like
Yeah,
you know this whole thing. Yeah.
yeah, somebody freaking yeah, like in America, like college students rented a camera, went out and made a movie and brought it back in the Blair Witch Project. Just
Right.
you know, just because they could. But over there, you know, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can. But when they do, and when like a good movie is produced somewhere outside of the U.S., like it's like really important because it's like
It is.
it's just not what most movies are about because the U.S. probably produces the most movies.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure, yeah.
Definitely. I mean,
I
like
would think.
they're like viewed in China and like
Yeah,
everywhere.
they're viewed
like,
everywhere.
Like
They also
I think
steal
it's
movies,
important to
too.
look at other cultures too, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I agree
Like
with that.
America steals movies too. It's like from other cultures.
That
Like
too, bro.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
Oh
true.
yeah, for sure,
like
That's
Ghost
true.
in the Shell with fucking Scarlet.
Oh my
Think-
god.
dude.
Yeah.
All I bet all Disney princesses they're all based off of other legends.
They actually are.
Yeah.
A lot of them
You know
are.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, they are.
like
Mulan, bro.
Snow White's probably some German.
You know, that kind of reminds me. I mean, this is slightly off topic, but it's something we
Yeah,
talked
no, go
about a
ahead.
little bit. It's kind of, I mean, no, it's honestly the same exact thing with K-pop. Like,
Oh
just
yeah.
how
I was
so
gonna
many
make that connection
people,
too.
so many people won't give it a shot. Just say it's my biggest annoyance with it. Okay, like whatever, you can be ignorant and not even bother trying to listen to it. But my biggest disappointment is how when people say that K-pop, the artists don't write their own lyrics, and that K-pop is just a manifestation of what American music already is. And I'm like, bro, literally that's literally the whole world, like entertainment industry. Like you can't tell me that American music made every type of music. Like no, America wasn't even a country,
They're
bro.
the one
Like
that steals. They're the one that steals their identity from other countries.
yeah, bro, like there's cultural appropriation like amongst everyone, not just one country versus another. And like
Yeah.
same with the lyricist thing, dude. That thing hella pissed me off because dude, K-pop rappers aren't real rappers. They don't even write anything. I'm like, bro, do you not realize that like even Kanye has like
Bro,
7 people? He has like 8.
Everybody.
Yeah, I'm like, dog, of course you can have an original idea, but when it comes to the entertainment business, there's always going to be another layer.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mhm.
yo. And
That's
you could
crazy.
say the same thing with movies too, because there's no way, especially a movie, there's no way you could make a movie by yourself in any way,
No.
Yeah.
at
Negative.
any stage of the movie. Like there has to be steps of interpretation and like redesign. So
Yeah.
like the idea of like someone's own idea, like what the fuck, bruh?
'Cause it's all about how you think and like how you were raised.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bro.
And
Oh man.
you were raised from either your culture or you know getting ideas from other culture and stuff like that. So it's
Right.
everybody has, you know, everybody's affected by everybody else.
Yeah,
Literally.
exactly.
All
Especially
art.
now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all
Oh,
art
yeah, with
takes influence from a
technology.
different piece of art. Yeah, and technology. Yeah.
Oh shit, we going off. Going off,
You know
Xander,
what,
help.
bro? You know what,
I
bro?
mean-
Fuck Parasite. We're going off on a tangent.
That's low key what it sounds like.
Low key.
Sounds like we just hate America.
I
Oh,
know,
do,
huh? hey,
Get me outta
my
here.
FBI agent listening to this?
Yeah.
FBI.
CIA, whatever.
California.
But yeah, no, I mean, literally, all pieces of art take some sort of inspiration from another piece of art. I mean, even Bong Joon Ho like took inspiration from a lot of American directors on how he makes his own films. Like you guys mentioned, like he's just like us. He's a fan of film, and he
Right.
aspires to be these directors, and even shouted them out at the Oscars.
Hell yeah.
Which was an amazing moment. And
Yeah.
it's like, like even though it takes some inspiration from other films, like you could make something unique out of it too. So that's something not to ignore either.
Oh,
Fact.
definitely not. Big facts.
Big facts.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever took humanities, you'll know collective learning.
Oh god. Oh god. Oh god.
Collective learning.
The Goldilocks
guys.
conditions.
Oh my god, Mr.
The
Marsden.
Goldilocks conditions, bro.
Hey, shout out Mr. Marsden if you're hearing this.
Marsden, Miss Huss.
Marsden, Zach.
Miss Campoy.
Oh,
Hey, shout out Ms. Campoy. All right. So I want to dive into what
about Mrs.
probably will be
Disney.
our last topic. It's the global success of Parasite, and I think a perfect example is like how many awards it won, especially at the Oscars, which is, American. So it won Best Picture, and what's really important about that is the first international picture to win Best Picture, and it's also the first non-English film to win Best Picture. And the
Wait,
Oscar,
ever?
ever.
Holy,
And
that's
it's been
Bruh,
around
that's
for
crazy.
almost 100 years. So like I think like around 80. So that paired with the fact that the Oscars kind of like the Academy is made up of mostly white males, so it's very biased when it comes to nominations. Usually
Yeah.
every year there's something that doesn't seem right, and the fact that a South Korean film that's mainly in Korean won Best Picture is a big moment. It's a big step
yeah.
towards moving at least somewhere towards some
Yeah.
progression with the Oscars. And that's not even the only award it won. It won Best Director for Bong Joon Ho, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Foreign Film. So yeah,
Bro,
I think
that's
it's a big move. What's notable though that there's no acting nominations for them. I felt like the dad, Mr.
I
Kim.
feel like that was biased.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of too biased.
Yeah, and I think it was mainly white actors that got nominated that year. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it happens. Like, I don't know. Hopefully, this is a step in the right direction, and then
Oh, it definitely is.
it'll
Yeah.
trickle down into more categories.
Yeah.
It's kind of
hope
like
so, yeah.
BTS. I mean, like they haven't done everything that they can do, but they're definitely paving the way for any artist, not even just Asian artists.
Yeah, I actually wanted to. I'm glad you brought it up because I actually did want to
Oh,
tie it to K-pop too. Because the fact that Parasite, like so many of us have watched it in America, and the fact that Parasite made such a big wave in like the Western audience, like it's a big deal because like it kind of opens up the eyes of us. Like like there's other films out there like we were talking about earlier, and I think that pairing with the popularity of BTS and the rise of K-pop in America too, like it just contributes to the idea like there's other stuff out there, like there's other people's cultures, they're just as good,
if not better.
if not better too. Yeah, definitely. That was a long cast, a lot of stuff we talked about.
For sure.
Thank you Rap and Carson for joining us on your guys' first guest appearance. This is
Hey,
definitely
thanks
not going
for
to be the
having
first
me.
time you're going to be on this podcast.
Yeah, they'll be back.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, it was a pleasure having you guys here. It was a great episode. I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
Any final
Me
thoughts you guys want to add?
No, I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, we went through a lot.
Yeah, we went through a lot. Parasite, amazing movie. It definitely deserved every award it got. Maybe even
Agreed.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most
more would be nice.
Yeah.
most definitely.
It definitely broke the boundaries a little bit.
That's okay.
And for me, it kind of, opened my eyes to be more persistent, I guess, with what I'm making. Like I want everything to have some sort of meaning whenever I make my like films in the future.
Mhm.
I just love how Bong just paid that attention to detail.
On everything.
So much, like literally everything. Yeah.
He literally did everything, like, and that's kind of what it takes to be a great filmmaker, just like him. And
Yeah.
thank you,
Agreed.
Carson and Rappy, for coming on.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Pleasure is mine.
Of course.
Now, what was your guys' favorite scene?
Oh,
Um,
The tuberculosis scene was my favorite. Just the way it was edited. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
What about you, Carson?
The scene where the little boy was eating a cake in front of the fridge, and then the crazy dude was climbing up the stairs.
Crazy
my
eyes.
God.
Crazy eyes.
That was crazy.
It
Dude.
haunts me for like nights, bro.
Low
Dude, the
key.
way he was walking up the stairs. Can we talk about that for just a second?
Bruh,
What the fuck?
Creepy,
that was crazy,
dude.
bro.
God.
That was actually creepy.
You guys have any
What
favorite
up?
scenes?
It's a good one.
I'll let everyone else
So
answer.
funny. So
What
funny.
about Xander?
Xander, what's your favorite scene?
What's your favorite?
My favorite scene is when the daughter grabbed the peaches.
Oh, that
yeah.
was good, dude. Yeah.
That one's really good.
Rubbed it on her
I know you
face.
guys want me to say the sexy, but no, the fact that she used peaches as a weapon was like genius.
Yeah,
pretty
that was,
Shit
that
was
was
hella funny.
I like
That's
that.
the 200.
Because I always think of how Darren's allergic to peanuts, and we always threaten him with peanuts. so that's
okay.
so well, and everything else, and like shrimp and shit.
Oh,
So
man.
so that's
Yeah,
why
bro.
I like that scene.
You better watch
Pretty
out around
funny.
Xander.
Because it's like
God.
relatable. Like, yeah, so you better not piss me off because I always carry peanuts.
Oh, bro.
In his pocket. That's a secret. He's gonna be the parasite in my life. Just kidding.
Oh,
You're my best friend.
It's definitely towards the end. I think I like when he puts the downstream.
Pen, yep.
Wait, whoa! No, the downstream rock. I don't know if it's is it the same exact one or is it a different one? Do you
No, it's
guys
the same
remember?
one. You
The
put
same
it
one.
in
It's
the
always
river,
been the same
right?
one.
Alright. Yeah, 'cause I think right from that point to the kind of his imaginary plan, I think that part just hits really hard because it's kind of the what could have been, or like it's the deep down,
Mhm.
it's his truest intention.
Like back to where he's from.
Yeah, and like I just, obviously like they had to make the whole movie, but like I wish that was like the goal he had without having to lose his dad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just like from the get go, like that's the person he could have strived to be. And even if he didn't reach that part or like that immense of success, like he would still land somewhere pretty nice, I think. But like it's just cool to reminisce in that. And in some ways, obviously my life is nothing close to that, those types of hardships. But in a lot of senses, it does make me feel like with what I have, I need to do my best to be the best person possible in like any regard.
Right.
So I think it's not just the scene, but kind of how my thoughts connect to it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
That
sharing
got
that.
too deep. Jesus.
You always do that, man. But it's enlightening,
Yeah, I thought he was gonna say about something about life again. It was close. I was waiting for him to actually say
It
it.
was almost there.
But he didn't actually say it.
Oh,
He didn't
God.
explicitly say it.
Yeah,
No, that's
That's
good. I like that.
for sure. Thank
How
you.
about you, Rap?
I would guess I would say when they're walking down the stairs,
In the rain scene?
on the rain scene,
Yeah.
Good one.
because it I don't know, just like what I said before, kind of just shows the differences between the two families. Like, they're physically walking down from their house all the way down to their house,
Mhm.
and it kind of just shows like the social hierarchy, but like on literal at the top, and they're literally in a semi basement at the bottom, and it just shows that long walk down. I would say that. Oh, my
Yeah.
favorite scene.
That one
Okay.
hits hard for
Yeah,
sure.
that's such an important scene too.
Yeah, it is.
What about you? Did you already say yours, Darren?
Yeah, it was the tuberculosis scene.
Yeah, I think I also low key. It's kind of just, I guess, for my comical scene. I think my favorite one is when they're trying out the new Benz in the Mercedes dealership.
Oh yeah.
I kind of like that part as like the comical scene. That's my favorite.
That one's a great scene too.
Man, I wish I could do that with my dad, bruh. I want to go show him a Benz.
Ryan, did
is
you say
out.
yours?
No, I haven't said mine
Yeah, go
yet.
ahead.
I guess I kind of have two.
Sick.
Yeah, no worries.
One is more on a comical sense. So like, there was the scene where I don't know if you guys watched the scene, or remember
We
this.
watched it.
I don't know.
I skipped over it, man.
I watched the whole
Freaking
movie,
bro.
but that scene.
I might remember. It was whenever they finally started scamming, right? And they went out to go eat, and finally they can afford food, and they went into the pizza place where they
Yeah,
were giving,
yeah, I caught that. Yeah.
giving them- where they were working for that pizza bitch, and
Yeah.
Yo,
chill.
Pizza bitch. What is up with you? Pizza bitch, crazy eyes. Oh my god.
and he like drops their fucking pizza on their table like
Yeah,
hella
like slammed it.
rudely, and she gives them the face, and it's just like I just loved how they were they were so mean to this bitch, and next thing you know, now like she like they're better than her now basically.
And yeah, she's serving them now.
Oh man.
Now
Yeah.
she's serving.
Yeah.
So like comedic thing, like that was pretty good.
That's a good one.
That is pretty
For me,
good.
my favorite scene was whenever they finally reached the bottom of the stairs during the rain scene. They're kind of like getting mad at each other. It's like, what's our plan or whatever. That
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's Jessica said. It wasn't more about like the story. I kind of just liked the way they filmed that scene. They had a yellow light above them and made things seem very gritty. Definitely made them feel, vulnerable in that scene. And just like the whole background, like just the rain pouring on them, there's trash behind them, it's flooding. Just that scene kind of made me feel like just made me appreciate everything that went on in this film. The
Yeah.
story, like
Mhm.
that's kind of where I kind of felt like, yeah, this is just a great fucking film.
That's the goat.
Yeah, man.
mean,
I agree with that.
Whenever I actually think about the story, that's whenever they came back to the realization that fuck, what are we gonna do now? Like we're just so screwed. And I guess I can say that's kind of where I was like, I guess I could find like some sort of like relatability to it. As like, I guess I can see myself being like if I was ever in a hard situation like that, I would feel the same way as them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of why I appreciated that scene so
Nah, I
much.
get it.
Yeah, and that scene like is a turning point for the rest of the film. Yeah.
Exactly. It was a very strong one too. You can see like the characters, their emotions change and their attitudes change throughout the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, bro. Hella
So yeah,
demoralizing.
that was a
Definitely,
good one.
bro. Yeah. Wow.
Damn. I'm getting
Wow. I wish I watched that scene.
deep.
I know
I fell
it's
asleep.
Watch Bunch,
Which one?
Yeah, the one with the peaches.
the one with the couch.
There's a lot of scenes with couches.
Oh yeah, no, I love that scene where the old nanny was put into
They're
about to
massaging.
press the missile for them as a message.
Yeah,
bruh.
it was like massaging the crazy dude.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great couch scene.
Great scene.
Yeah. Anyways, welcome back to the Dojo Podcast, where we talk about the top 10 couch scenes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys so much for joining. Anyway, any final thoughts? I don't wanna.
Mm-mm.
All right,
Just
for
think.
sure.
Watch Parasite.
Yeah, come on, just watch it.
Come
Shout
on,
out
man.
Bong Joon Ho.
Shout out
Yeah, that
Bong.
no.
Shout out Rap. Shout
Well,
out Carson.
Let us know in the comments what your guys' favorite scenes were.
Hey.
Most definitely. Man, we gotta
Good.
hire this guy.
Wait, y'all are getting paid for this shit?
Oh,
That was
all
funny.
right, yeah. Thank you guys.
you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you again, Rap and Carson for joining us. Again, it's not the
Yeah.
first time or last time you're gonna be here. We're definitely gonna have you guys on again. All right,
Bro,
bye
say
guys.
less.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego, baby.